previously on the Salawogs, why it's great. Gut reaction.
That's sort of what he did, what Kevin Smith did back when he made Tusk back in 2014. In this movie, Tusk, that I bring up almost as often as Star Wars, there's a movie where we kind of have what seems like a straightforward comedy, maybe, we're not quite sure, comedy or drama. We have a very straightforward kind of movie with Justin Long's character walking into a horror situation, and it's only after he first meets this sort of kooky stranger at his home in the middle of nowhere, and things start getting, Blumhouse creepy. It's only after that, his first kind of knockout, that we cut to a close-up of Genesis Rodriguez, and she's talking to someone, and she has this whole beautiful monologue it's a tragic monologue about kind of the fall of Justin Long's character, how he used to be so sweet and now he's just become this very vain, self-involved cheater. She knows that he's cheating because he comes up with excuses for why he can't go with her on journeys, that somehow has something to do with the best friend. Very, very bullshitty excuses for why he's actually cheating on her. And that's a genre shift, within the movie. And the movie kind of cuts back and forth between this very sort of bizarre horror movie of Justin Long being turned into a walrus, and this very straightforward kind of drama story of his girlfriend and his best friend / co-podcaster, who are they're just kind of at their wits' end with him. They're sick of how he's transformed. They don't even know he's being transformed even further from an asshole to a walrus. But those genre shifts, I thought, that's part of what makes Tusk really impressive, because it can shift these genres, and yet the movie is still going. You know what I mean? And there's something to say that, hey, horror movies do have drama sometimes. But I've just got this very distinct feeling when we were on Genesis Rodriguez. No, this is a drama scene. This is a dramatic scene. It's a dramatic speech. This is not... You don't always get this in horror. Horror movies, whether they're slow burns or whether they're, chasing you around, are really more about setting up the premise most of the time and don't always have a kind of dramatic edge like that. So I thought it was very beautiful that, the very first half of Tusk is a back and forth between a mundane relationship drama, which, not to say, Kevin Smith's movies are mundane in the ire of mediocre, just that, it's regular life, right? Mundane meaning regular life. The first half of Tusk goes back and forth between this bizarre horror, this bizarre body horror, almost of the vein of The Fly, something like that. So we have this intercutting in the first half between body horror and mundane drama, and then the second half, which introduces Guy Lapointe, who is a surprise cast member. If you haven't seen Tusk, I'm not going to say who that cast member is. You just better go watch it and find out for yourself. But when Detective Guy Lapointe appears, all of a sudden the movie becomes a body horror that has this kind of comedic irony to it, intercut with the detective bringing Genesis Rodriguez and Haley Joel Osment, the Justin Long's only real close connections in this movie. The second half is this kind of comedic detective movie where they're trying to get closer and closer to what's happened to Justin Long. So it's a very bizarre juxtaposition of genres and film languages, because again, film language shifts based on your genre, based on your medium. It's very, very different. I want to say, look, before making Tusk, Kevin Smith had made Red State. If you watch Red State, it's very different from the rest of Kevin Smith's filmography. He starts off with his View Askew universe, which is Clerks, Mallrats, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and even his more dramatic pieces like Chasing Amy and apparently Jersey Girl, they all still have a kind of comedy edge to them, and they have our consistently recurring characters, Jay and Silent Bob, especially for Dogma, which is my personal favorite of the View Askew universe. But look, you look at his entire filmography, he's got his world down. How he likes to make movies, he's got down. And it's this View Askew, this comedy verse, right? But you look at Red State, and that's a completely serious crime movie about religious zealots who are killing people they believe to be homosexuals because they feel that they're doing the work of God, and all that matters is that they do his good work until the rapture comes. And John Goodman's in this film as an FBI guy trying to set free people they believe to be kidnapped by the zealots. Michael Parks leads the zealots, and it's a really crazy, dark, serious movie. And you look at that, and if you did not know who Kevin Smith was, you would think this is a Coen Brothers movie. It's some kind of, or a Tarantino movie of some kind. It's got all these elements of very dark, serious movies, and it's done perfectly straight. And you may ask yourself, well, how can a guy who does comedy do something that's so serious and so perfectly straight? Well, look at the Joker, right? Yeah, forget the drama of Joker Folie à Deux. Think of Joker 1, how the world really loved that movie, but it's a very dark, bleak drama. And if you compare that to director Todd Phillips' previous works, he did a lot of comedies. And the truth of the matter is, comedy is drama in disguise. But when you look at Tusk, the way I see it, especially post Red State, ironically, I saw Red State afterward. I see Tusk as this kind of very straightforward drama horror that's also, at its heart, it's a big joke. So, it starts off with something that's people laughing, but it's not funny. And it ends with a very dramatic visual where we suddenly get the laughter of the podcast where this whole story came from. So what I see Tusk as is, if you consider Red State and you consider the rest of Kevin Smith's career, you're really looking at 30 years of craftsmanship. This person knows how to tell stories. And it just happens to be that he prefers comedy over drama. But he can do a perfectly straight drama like Red State, a crime drama. You look at that, and then if you're really clear-minded, you look at how he switches these genres so effortlessly in Tusk. Like, they're very effortlessly switched, where we're in the looming, creepy horror of Justin Long being essentially seduced and then drugged by Michael Parks in Tusk, intercut with Genesis Rodriguez and Haley Joel Osment, his girlfriend and his best friend, having these dramatic kind of speeches and scenes, some of which are flashbacks. But there is a humorous irony to certain points in the movie, but it's never detracts from the seriousness of the horror aspect until Justin Long fully gets turned into a walrus, at which point there's this pop out, this sort of comedic 70s camera style pop out that shows him being a walrus in human flesh, and it's so horrific and hilarious and crazy. It's a really insane movie, but I just feel that this film Tusk deserves to be looked at. You look at the genre shifting, you look at the quality of the writing, how good Genesis Rodriguez's speeches. It's not just her performance, which is top notch. I knew she was a star the minute her first speech happens in this movie. But and she's got a clip out right now of her having a shouting match with Zoe Saldana in Lioness, which I don't have Paramount Plus, but my parents do. So when I visit for Thanksgiving, I'm checking that out. But you look at how Genesis Rodriguez rocks that speech. It's a great speech. It really tells the story, and she rides that emotional roller coaster perfectly. But you look at the genre shifting in Tusk, and this is the work's done by a very talented filmmaker. It's not just good editing, although that exists too. It's really strong writing, strong sense of where does the story need to go? How do we need to build our story up to get us to the maximum potential of what the ending can be? And that's why I so strongly recommend Tusk. If you're an emerging filmmaker, a learning filmmaker, or even an experienced filmmaker, this Tusk is worth watching for really wrapping your head around how you can tell a story and how you can mesh genres and do something very unique while still giving people good storytelling, because that's what this film does. So that's, anyway, this is just a little extra bit I want to add to this clip. It's not a part of the original episode where I'm talking about Crazy House. It's just, this is how strongly I feel that Tusk deserves celebration, but also deserves to be studied by up and coming filmmakers to really wrap your head around what a story can be. You got to watch your Vanishing Point. You got to watch Tusk. You got to watch Citizen Kane. You know what I mean? You got to watch it with all these movies, just to get a full sense of what you can do with storytelling. Storytelling itself it's a very strange thing to do, but if you can have a greater sense of how storytellers accomplish their stories, Tusk is one of those pictures I firmly believe you gotta watch just for that educational experience, if nothing else. So that's what I gotta say. That's my 2 cents on Tusk for now. Thank you very much.